Welcome back. Federal agencies have coronavirus hiring authorities from the Office of Personnel Management through the rest of this year. That authority lets agencies hire employees working on the pandemic response and serve terms up to 2 years. Jeff Neal's former Chief Human Capital Officer at the Department of Homeland Security. Jeff, welcome. Thanks for coming on the program. What's the back to work play look like? We keep hearing in the business media about the back to the office trade, and I wonder what that looks like from the viewpoint of somebody thinking about how their employees might start to come back to the office soon.
Well, there's a lot to look at when you're thinking about having people come back to work. One is, do you have a safe workplace? The reason people were not working in the office was the pandemic. We were afraid of going into an office and getting sick. And you've got federal employees now who are working in many cases in buildings that are 50, 60, 70 years old. And these buildings weren't really designed necessarily with ventilation systems that you might want now to help keep from spreading something like the coronavirus around. So there's that to worry about. Are you going to have a lot of telework? Are you going to have more people coming back into the office? Or are you going to have more people staying at home? Are you going to have a hybrid system? What does a hybrid look like? Is it based on what the person does and what kind of customer interaction they have, or is it based on what somebody's personal preferences are? So there are a lot of different things that they're going to have to think about, and most of them aren't particularly easy, and they're also not things that agencies are guaranteed to get right the first time.
So the idea of the buildings makes sense to me when we're not sure what the spread of the virus looks like. I keep reading, I'm getting my first shot tomorrow. I keep reading that 2 weeks after my second shot, I'm at virtually no risk to get the virus. Do ventilation systems and the other safety measures matter as much when you have a pretty wide cohort of people in an agency that have gotten both shots, or in the case of the Johnson & Johnson shot, have gotten their shot?
Well, a wide cohort is not a complete cohort. So let's say 25% of employees, for some reason, don't want to get the vaccine. Maybe they don't want to get it because they've turned it political. Maybe they don't want it for some other reason. Maybe they don't want it because they can't take the vaccine. They've had allergic reactions to things before, and their doctor says, no, I don't think you should get it. Then you have to worry about yourself, but also worry about what happens to the people that you work with. And are these people that you work with who either can't or won't get a vaccine able to work safely? So it's more than just worrying about the individual employees.
What's the strategy that somebody should be thinking about? Proactive in that we're going to try to figure out what a remote work strategy looks like, or reactive based on what their employees tell them they're comfortable with, they want to see in the workplace, what they've learned about telework, the individual employees have learned about telework and their own personal habits, that kind of thing?
Well, I think what we're going to see is that all of those things are true. People should be working proactively right now, and I think most federal agencies are actively planning how they're going to get people back to whatever the new normal looks like. Then you're also going to have things that happen after people get back to work, where people find out that things are not working in some way. And employees will express the views about that to their bosses. And it's a great thing, because one of the places you learn is from the people doing the work. So they will have plans, they will execute those plans, they will learn from those plans. One Army general I used to work for always used to tell me, when you go into battle, you have to have a plan, and the first casualty of the battle was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't think agencies are doing something wrong when they make a plan, implement it, and then they learn as they bring people back that maybe parts of their plan weren't quite right, and then they adjust. And I think that's what we're going to see over the next probably year or even two, that the agencies are going to have to learn what a hybrid workplace looks like. And I think that's where we're going to end up with most agencies, is in a hybrid workplace. You're going to have people who work in the office most of the time. You're going to have people who work at home most of the time. You're going to have people who have some mix of home and office work. So that's what I think the workplace will look like.
It seems like the best thing that someone can do, based on your description, is explain to their employees we might not get this 100% right, and we need you to help us shape this strategy as we move forward. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of eye rolls on the back end. Well, of course they messed this up. Nobody ever gets anything right. When what you're saying sounds completely reasonable, that this is really complicated. Nobody's ever really done anything like this before, and getting it 100% right is not very likely.
No, that's exactly it. Agencies are not going to necessarily get it right the first time. They need to be talking to their employees now. They need to talk to their employees once they execute whatever their plan is, and they need to keep on talking to them. And more than just talking to them, more importantly, they need to listen to their employees, because their employees will be giving them very valuable information that they need to be able to have a workplace that's safe and productive and does the work of the American people and carries out the missions of these agencies.
We have about 30 seconds left, Jeff. What does a successful Back to the Office campaign look like a year, 18 months, 2 years out?
It looks like something where we have as many people who can work from home and want to, working from home. We have productivity measures in place, so we know that people are working from home. And we have something that we can use as a recruiting tool for the federal government that says the federal government is a modern workplace, and you can have a very flexible work arrangement and work-life balance if you come to work for the federal government.
Jeff Neal, thanks very much as always.
Thanks for having me.